Sometimes your programs may need to work with a fixed set of some sort of related types of value. For example, a calendar program might need to deal with the 7 days of the week. And a gambling program, well, that might need to deal with the 4 suits of a deck of playing cards. Now you could represent values like that using integers, 0 to 3 say, for the suits of a deck of cards, but often it would be clearer if you could use named identifiers instead of numbers. For example, let's have a look at this code. This code in fact deals with the deck of cards, but I'm testing if card equals 0 or card equals 1. What does that mean? Wouldn't it be so much clearer if I said if card equals hearts or card equals diamonds? Now, in this lesson I want to talk about a simple way of creating a series of identifying names such as hearts, diamonds, clubs, spades, and days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. Now, let's start with this one. I've declared enum suits to represent the suits of a deck of cards. And when I want to create a variable of that enum, this enumerated type, this is how I do it. Here in the function show card, I take an enum suits card, and how do I call it? I call it from main down here, and this is where I've actually created a variable of this type, enum suits playing card. And similarly, I can create an enum of the days of the week, and we looked at that one up here, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Down here, I create this enum variable days, the variable's named today, and I pass it to the function showDayType. And once again, the parameter is declared as enum days and the argument name day. The identifiers, the list of names that you put inside your declaration of an enum, are actually constants because their values can't be changed. And in fact, an enum may sometimes be described as an enumeration constant. By default, the identifiers in an enum are assigned integer values from 0 for the first one, so that would be, for example, Monday in this days enum, or hearts in the suits enum, that would have the value 0, and then the next one would have the value 1, and so on. But you can also assign integer values, other specific integer values, if you want to do so, and for example, I've done that in the numbers enum, where I've assigned the value 2 to the identifier couple, 12 to the constant dozen, and score has been assigned a value of 20. And just for a simple example of how to use them, here I've created a day and I've declared it with one of the enum values, which is Saturday, because today is of that enum type. Suits, the suits enum is called playing card, and I've given that the diamonds value, that's a value of the suits enum. And finally, num, that is of the numbers enum, and as we just seen, I've given it the value, one of the values listed there, which was dozen, which I assigned specifically the integer 12, and I've just called these different functions to display some information about the variables. So for example, showDayType, well, if it finds that the argument is either Saturday or Sunday, it says it's the weekend, otherwise it says it's a working day. And with the card, if the card is hearts or diamonds, it says it's in the red suit, otherwise it says it's a black card. And finally numbers, it just analyzes the argument that's sent to it and displays whatever value, whatever integer value it's worth. And so let me just show you this running. So there we are, those are the results. There's nothing terribly complicated about that. So now I want to move on and look at how I've rewritten my CD database program using an enum. So here I've written this enum score, which is going to represent the user rating of each CD in my little database. Now this is my CD struct. We've looked at structs in previous videos. It's the definition of a CD record in my database. And this time notice that I've declared this field as enum score, that's the score enum that I've declared up here, and I've named it rating. So here is how I can now assign a rating to each CD in my collection using one of the constants that's been declared in this score enum. That's terrible, bad, average, good, or excellent. So in this create_CD collection function, when I'm putting CDs into the array, I just use this dot notation to refer to the field .rating, and then I can assign one of the values from the enum, excellent, good, average, and so on. One thing you need to be aware of is that you could put in, let's have a look, so excellent is equivalent to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, to 4, because that is assigned the integer from a 0-based index. It would be assigned the integer 4. So I could, instead of putting excellent there, I could put 4 there. And when I run it, the program continues to work. But I could also put a value that is not really valid, because I'm assuming that I've got 5 possible rating values, because I've got 5 elements, 5 constants defined in the score enum. What if I put something beyond that range? Well, the program continues to work. So bear that in mind, that while it's desirable, if you've declared an enum, to use the names that you've declared as the constant values in that enum, but it is not certain that your compiler or your IDE or editor will prevent you using invalid values. So enums are useful for documenting your code because it's easier to understand here, for example, what the rating implies. If I say excellent, or if I was dealing with cards, it would be easier to talk about hearts and diamonds rather than values such as 0 and 1. So they help to document your code, but they aren't guaranteed to enforce only the set of values which you declare. Your IDE may warn you, or your compiler may produce a warning, but it is not obliged to. So don't assume that an enum is type safe in the sense that it restricts you only to the values which are declared in that enum.